Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of MoftMinds. I still go by the name of Dorian's Grave, and we find ourselves tonight in my favorite room in the building, Olav H. Hauga. It's Thursday night, and it's not Friday night, and which means that this is not the normal days in which MoftMinds airs, but this is a day we could do this one, and we had to do it. We just had to do this episode because in the room today we have one of four people I look up to in my life in general. She is a powerhouse of a human being, creative director, head of house, managing director, theater chef. Theater chef? Is that what you call it in Norwegian?
Theater director, yeah.
Theater director of the, of course, ever so popular and outstanding Ole Bull, who's, ladies and gentlemen, by way of bargain on MoftMinds, we have Sølvi Rolland in the building.
Wow, what an introduction. I gotta keep that for my grandchildren if I ever get some.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, Sølvi, it is an honor to have you here, and thanks for dropping by.
It's a pleasure to be here.
2020 has been was an interesting year. And
Yes.
2021 is still, of course,
Challenging.
is challenging and maybe almost interesting. We'll never know.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
but we're not going to go to that first. You know, a lot of people are watching this episode and probably wondering, who is Sølvi Rolland? Not everybody knows who you are. We know the building. We know we've been there for concerts. We've seen some plays. We've seen some shows. We've seen pretty much everything in that building, you know. But we never really know the person or the people behind it. But here you are in this room today. So I'm going to start for the sake of those who do not know who you are. Who is Sølvi Rolland?
Oh, who am I? Well, I'm I'm a mother of four, and I have a family, of course, when I have four kids, and I'm married, and I live out in the countryside, and I love my job, and I think that's, I'm quite grateful for that I actually have the opportunity to work with something that I love and have the passion for, and I have enormous pride in my work. And in Norwegian we would say yrkesstolthet. But I just love my work, and my benefit or my luck is that I have nearly done all the jobs in my theater house. I've started cooking coffee when I was 18 years old, and for Helge Jordal, and picking glasses in the pub and in the restaurant, and washing dishes, and worked as catering for artists around on different gigs in Bergen, in Grieghallen, and Maxim and Stundesløse, and anywhere else where there was a band playing. I was doing the catering and working backstage, and I loved it. You know, from the minute that when I worked with Helge Jordal, when I was cooking coffee,
at Maxim, right?
At Maxim, which is today Ole Bull House, Ole Bull Huset. And I just remember then, you know, the tension or the nerves behind the backstage, and just before the curtain drops, and the excitement in the audience when they were just waiting the minute before the show starts. And I just love that point, you know.
Okay.
And I still love it. I still love to go into the theater just before just before a show starts, and just hear how excited the audience are, and then go backstage, and all the artists that are so focused and they are so into what they are doing, And that I think I am at my happiest when I just thank God that I still have this job. And I just absolutely love my job. And I think that's, I'm lucky to, have my own job and love it. And that's not, I know that not everybody do that, but I really have a passion for what I do.
Well, you're still in the game, so definitely passion plays a role. And then you say you're lucky. Per definition, I see luck as when opportunity meets preparation. This is how luck can be defined.
Well, yeah.
Right. When opportunity meets preparation, because when you started at 18 years old, cooking coffee, picking up glasses, doing catering, I'm assuming you weren't the only one doing this. I'm assuming you worked with a team of other people.
Yes.
In what you call in a shift kind of thing,
yes.
And then when you now say the word luck, one can also think that how come these other people didn't have that same, get to do what you're doing today, for example? What made you stand out at that point and said to yourself, I'm going to do this?
I'm not sure that I stand out or stood out. I just knew that from that minute on, I just loved it. I still love being on the floor, waitressing.
We see you.
Being at the door, doing the dishes, being able to serve people. I love people. I like people, and that meeting in the theater and cooking that coffee, and I just was lucky. I work with a lot of good people, and I just thought that, okay, you have to be the first one to arrive and the last one to leave. And as a girl that loved my job, and I was still picking glasses, and I thought that, this is something I thrive in. I really liked it. And I went to waitress school and for a year, and there I learned all the basics about, waitressing in a restaurant, and I still have that in my bone marrow, beinmargen, in my, it's
Your
still
spine.
In my reflection, it's still there, and all the basic that I learned is still there, and so I have both the restaurant and bar training, and I also have the theater training, and I've been very lucky to work with the bests, and I had good mentors on my way, and I've never been afraid to ask for help. I've never been afraid to ask, can I please learn? Can I please hang with you to learn this? And I had some good managers around me that actually allowed me to get more responsibility on my road. And it was, and of course, as a girl back then working with a lot of men, you had to sort of just step up your game.
Right.
I did, not because that I was, but I just saw that as a girl working in a restaurant business we're talking 32 years ago. And if you were a girl and you got promotion, it was equal that you had fucked the boss.
Okay.
It was sort of,
fair enough.
There was, you couldn't be good. You absolutely had to.
You sleep your way up to the top.
You sleep your way up to the top. And I was sort of, and one time I got a manager position, not a big manager job, but I was working, picking the glasses, doing this and doing that. And then I got a little manager job, and one day I came to work and I saw all the doormen standing talking, and I came walking through the disco back then, and I saw them standing there, and I heard one of the guys saying that they were talking about me, and they didn't see me coming, And I heard him saying, and this was the brother of the guy that have given me this position. And I heard him say to the other guys, of course, of course, we all know, guys, that, she definitely slept herself to
get that position.
To get to this position. And the other guys just went quiet, and I came up and I just picked him on the shoulders, and I just said, well, that was quite a nice thing to say, but, if you think you are standing here and make a mock out of me, you're wrong. You actually are standing here mocking your brother. Do you think he's that stupid that one lay is going to, and then he's going to promote somebody for that? So bad luck on you and your brother, I said, and I turned around, and that was how it was back then.
How did that make you feel, though, afterwards? Did you?
I felt 1-0 to me.
Oh, really?
In that sort of way, I don't mean to be, hard about it, but that sort of gave
the mindset
me. I put them all. Luckily, they were all there, and this was not that the other guys had that opinion, but I've sort of put it straight there, and I thought it was a nice way to say it, and I still would have done the same today. And I remember when I was maybe 25 or something, and people asked me about how it is to be a girl working in the business, and I was sort of, nah,
What do you mean?
What do you mean? It doesn't, it's the same. And of course it wasn't, but I just...
When you say it wasn't, Sølvi, what do you really mean that it wasn't? Because a lot of people can watch you, you're firm yourself. I've had the pleasure of working with you, closely. And when you say, of course it wasn't, what does that really mean? Can you elaborate on that? Because a lot of people don't have the same strength or courage as you have, so
no.
If you would tell us what that means.
I really, really hope, and I think it's different today,
Okay.
I really do. And I do. I work with a lot of women, but of course there is still we still are, it's not equal, unfortunately, but it's not like that. It's not like, hopefully, and if there is any women out there that have that experience, speak up, because society doesn't accept it. This was
back in the day when things were...
Well, yeah, but it was. But when I look, if you had asked me when I was 25 and people did, I wouldn't have said what I says today.
Okay. Because
I didn't see it so black and white. I saw that episode and I thought, I got respect after that one. I had it before that situation, but that sort of brushed everything at the side. And but still, like I said before, I had to be the first one to come and the last one to leave. And you had to just show that you were better than the other ones. And that paid off, because I still have that same passion that I had back then. And I think that was getting through to the other men that was managing this place that I was working for, which was Maxime back in the days. And
in 2005?
No, this is in 1991, 1992.
Okay.
And then we had,
Because in 2005, it became officially Olebul Husa,
yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Because what I'm thinking is, you are young, you are vibrant, spirited, you have passion, drive, you're ready for this. What I see in Bergen mostly is when artists reach a certain pinnacle or a certain point, like you were getting to, you were amassing all this information and experience, you were ready, I think. What usually happens is a lot of people tend to leave Bergen.
Yeah.
And then go somewhere else for a bigger city and more exciting, more publicity, more everything, But you stayed though.
Yes. Well, I went to, I worked in Maxim, and then we had unfortunately, the shooting where one of my colleagues got killed in Maxim, and after that was in '92, and after that, I sort of worked at the happiest place to working at the saddest place. And it sort of affect everybody, that was involved in that shooting. And after that, I sort of realized that I have to do something. I have to get out. So I moved to London, and I went to a bar school in London. And I lived there, and I came back, and I started, I was with me and three other guys. We started Rick's. And after that, I met my first husband. That sounds so awful to say. My first husband. And we lived in London, actually, for some time. But when we got kids, I wanted to live in Bergen. I didn't want to live abroad. I didn't want to live in hectic London. And we were young, and, you're young, and you party, and, you live your life. And, but when I got kids, I realized that I wanted to be closer to my family and to my friends. And that's when I decided to, have my base in Bergen. And then I had already sold out of Rick's, and I wanted to start for myself. And I already had a production company. And then I was a project manager for Elina opening Latter. I was project manager there. And at the same time, I was looking at different locations in Bergen to open my own theater. But that took me another year. So I signed a contract in 2004 and opened in 2005.
Yeah.
And
what was it like back then, in 2005, at Åleby? Because now I look at that, when I worked at that building with you at the time, it seems like pretty much a cultural hub. It was dance floor downstairs in Lille Åleby, right? And then of course you go upstairs, you have the theater or the ballroom, and then upstairs you have the nightclub thing going on. And I'm thinking to myself, like, has it always been like this? Was it like this in 2005 when you came in?
Yes, it was like that, but it was different because then I just owned the theater. I didn't own the whole building back then. So that was different from what it is when I took over the whole house 7 years ago.
In 2014?
2013. Yes.
You took over the whole house.
Yeah.
What was that like? Was this a smooth transition, or was it just like, okay, am I going to pick up the pieces, or what was it like? What were the finances like? Let's actually say that, because that correlates a lot with the question I'm going to ask you later in this interview or in this conversation. What was that like? Was this nerve-wracking? Was this, oh my God, we're going to hell? I gotta pick up the pieces. I had, I was doing and running Åleby, and I, had 20 staff, 25 staff. We were doing okay. My goal is not to be rich and famous. It's, if I go in zero and everybody has paid and are happy and I can live of it and do a honest and decent job, I'm happy, And I had a good life. And of course, when you run a private theater, a commercial private theater, your income, you have to, all the things that we are producing, and we have to live off everything around, the bar and the restaurant. That's sort of what pay our bills. It's not the culture, unfortunately. It is the things around it. Yeah. And after all those years, there had been some talks about if and when and but would I take over the house, and I said yes, okay. And I sort of jumped into it. Of course.
And I can tell you, for 3 years, I nearly cried every night driving home from work, and I was thinking, what the fuck have I done?
Yeah.
Pardon my language, but it was,
It's fine.
there was just skeletons falling out of those cupboards,
Cupboards, yeah.
cupboards, yeah, every day. You know, you think you closed and, you know, everything is cool, this is fine, boom, you know, something new hit
Right.
you, and
How did you find the courage to continue, though?
it's when you know, one day one of my friends, Marit Wanke, that's head of Bergen Chamber, she once asked me, you know, have you ever thought about, you know, what if it goes to hell? And I said, no, that thought never crossed my mind. And I think that's what it is to be starting on your own business, you know, because if I had made all those sheets that accountants do, you would never work in culture business. You would do something else, you know, and working with culture, you can't do a krona for a krona, you know. There is so much more to my work and my passion that has nothing to do with finance. But of course, in the end of the day, I have to, you know, get it to go round, because I went from 20 to 60 staff, you know, overnight, and we had 6 million in minus over 2 years, and the third year we turned it around to 6 million and plus. But that was a very hard job, and if I had, you know, if I had gone in and making of course we had made a lot of calculations, you know, but if I just had such a belief in turning that house around and doing it into one big culture house that I thought, you know, it couldn't be that bad when I take over, and it was. There was.
It was worse than you thought.
Fuck, that was. It was just. It was like you go into an elevator and they cut the wires and you just in free fall for 2 years, and that was a really, really hard time, and especially when you have 4 kids.
How old were your kids at the time?
Well, back then I had a 3-year-old and 2 6-year-old and a 9-year-old at home.
How did that affect your relationship in terms of your
What did you say?
how did that affect your relationship, your love life? Well, let's say like it is. If there's such thing as a love life at this point in time.
I must say that my husband, Gaute, my second husband. Okay, there is a love we haven't talked about here. But anyway, the love of my life that I'm married to now, he was very encouraging me to take over this. He still thinks that's the best thing that I've done. I mean, to make this a real living culture house, and so do I. And it was, you just make it work, you know. Your work is your life. You know, my work starts when I wake up, and my kids doesn't know anything else to having a working mother and father, and where the job is part of conversation, and you know, for good and for bad. You know, of course there are times and situations that's been real tough, you know, for me and for the family and everything. But especially when the business is going bad, and the finance are hard, and you need to sort of, that's hard. Because it affects you.
Well, let's clap for Gaute. You know.
And he's solid, you know, and I
think I met him.
Actually. He's a man of few words.
I met him once, and he introduced himself to me, and I said, "Of course." course. I was like, of course, you have to be the husband. It's you. I saw him and he was very poised and he was standing there over the bar with like a blazer, just saying much.
Give him a whiskey and he's happy.
I did. I did. And it's this thing because early on you mentioned that with the first 2 years you were down 6 million kroners, and that turned around to plus 6 million on the third year. What moves did you make? Because I see this thing sometimes in this industry where the person steering the ship always has a vision or an idea that's being powered by their passion, of course. What did you see? What did you change? And why didn't you give up? Because something must have changed somewhere. Something must have clicked.
Well, I think that one thing is to get a team with people that are good in things that I'm not good in.
Right.
I think, you can't do everything and nobody is good in everything. That's the first rule in my book. Get people that are better than you. And
sometimes younger.
and younger, of course. But and also there was, you have to go through the, and when we are putting two businesses together, there were things that we could benefit of. But it also takes patience to change things around. I thought that I could come in with my enthusiasm and, and change things, and it doesn't change overnight. And when you take over 40 staff, like I did, and putting 20 and 40 together and think that all of them will be happy harmony in the second week, you should think again. And it was not like I took over and it was closed. It was the business was running as I took over. Yeah. So it wasn't like you close, you build, you make your own thing out of it. It was just taking over a train that had left.
You jumped on the train when it already left.
When it was already left the station. So I think that by going deep into the finance, cutting costs, we had to cut costs. I had to let staff go, changing menus, combining, because this was like 3 departments and everybody bought in there. There was nothing that was sort of managed by one person. Everybody did their own thing. And so it was, when you sort of can see I saw the potential before I took over. So I already knew that there was the potential. So that was the carrot. That was the goal. I didn't think it would take me 2 years with that sort of financial disaster. But it sort of was an effort. It was a team effort. It wasn't me on my own. It was a very, very good team on board that changed it, and together we changed it. But it's, to work in the private culture, have a private theater is always it's a risky business.
It's a risky business.
It's not like I can just lay down on my back and think, woohoo, we did it. It's all down to, there is a lot of ifs and buts, and it has to be the right programming. It has to be, you have the competition from other bars and restaurants are hard and tough, and I think you can only be, and that's healthy.
Right.
If you don't have competition, you will not be better either.
Absolutely.
And then you sort of have to define, what are we? What is Ole Bull Huset?
When did you define that? When did that definition come about in your mind? When did you say, this is who we are?
I remember I had a lunch with Aspen Døsvik.
Yeah.
And that was not so long after I had taken over the house. And he sort of asked me, aren't you going to do this or aren't you going to do that? And I said that and this I don't know the word for in English, but I said to him, if you look at how I'm programming the stages, because we are a commercial theater, I like the house to be folkelig. I like it to be a house for
Very
everybody.
welcoming,
And with all the best under the same roof. And, you have good really homemade food, good homemade cocktails, I don't need that to be, I don't have the knowledge to be Lysverket because they are damn good at what they do, or Ken and Laila here in Litteraturhuset, But I want us to serve good food, on that level, like we are, how we do the theater.
Right.
Does it make any sense?
Oh, it does.
I'm just sort of, I don't have the knowledge for it, so I can't go to that. But what we are going to do and what is on the menu is going to be good homemade food, honest food, so nothing pre-cooked or nothing Egon-like, or, we're not going to go in that direction. But when you eat in the restaurant, it's going to be homemade and it's going to be real food.
But this is what I like about you, your honesty, man, Sølvi. It's just amazing because you leave, your honesty is just a breath of fresh air, because when first you said nothing pre-cooked, then you go not egg on. Like a lot of people I know would have probably not said anything after, or be like, oh no, let's not mention any names because we're so scared. And I think it's bullshit.
No, I mean, they make a lot of money.
They
make a lot of money, and
I've had the privilege of seeing the numbers.
And and good for them. But that's not my thing. That's not what I want to do. And that's not to disrespect what they are doing, because they make a lot of money. But that's not, and it works for them. But it doesn't work.
It's not the standard you're looking for.
For my passion, or for my for what I like to stand for. It's not. I wanted to be. Reflect what we do in the theater, on the stages, folkelig. You're going to like it.
Right.
It's going to be a good atmosphere. It's going to be cool. It's going to be nice, I don't need somebody, I don't need an award, I'm not aiming for a Michelin star, to put it that way, because that's not where we are.
That's not where you are, exactly.
That's not where we are. I'm aiming for good critics in the theater, I'm aiming for, I just had a conversation with Ove, the wine maker, and he writes about food and wine, and I just said, why can you never get good critics from the food critics that writes for the papers, of making just honest food, of just making home-cooked food? Why do if you make like we do, you can bet that you get the 3 or 4. You're lucky if you get the 4. We got 4 the last time. But I'm sort of, why can't a restaurant like on the average that we are on, folkelig, why can you never get a good review? I discussed it with Elina as well. Why can't you never get a 5 or a 6?
Can I jump in on that, if I may?
Yeah. It's sort of, if you make a good show, no matter what it is, you get a 5 or a 6 if it's Ole Bull or if it's DNS, or it's down to the basic. But it's sort of, I still haven't seen that. I still haven't seen,
I might be wrong, but it could be a compliment to you, though, in a way that you do great shows. You get great reviews. Well, not all the time, obviously. Nobody gets great reviews.
Nobody gets
reviews all the time. Doesn't make any sense. But you generally get great reviews. And I think what happens is people look at you like that, and then they put you at this standard. And you're making great food. It's not the point, But when they see your shows, they be like, oh, wow, that's a great show. But we can't really justify giving the food the same.
You think so?
I think so. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've seen Daniel in the kitchen do his thing. You know what I mean? And he's a great chef. I see what he puts I know I see the passion it puts on the plate, you know, and two, you're making homemade food, you know. I feel like some of these critics also want things to be a tad bit pretentious.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know, it's this I could actually do talk a podcast only about this, but it's
Let's go.
It's just interesting. I know I'm probably stepping on some toes, and that's not what I mean. It's just that when I see at Kristoffer Håtuft and Ken and Laila, I think it's fantastic what they do. I just love it, and what they do at Bara, I just think that's fantastic, and we should have that in the city. We should have that in town, and I think we are privileged to have so amazing chefs, and I get curious of working on that level, yeah. And when I see that we have the national stage, the Nationale Scene in town that has 100 million, I think that's great because they can make and produce things that I can't, that a private theater will never have the finance to do. And I think that's great. So I think if you see on the cultural level, then you get critic on what you actually deliver.
Right.
You know, and I don't think that's fair to the chefs that works damn hard in a folkelig restaurant, and I wish they could they should get a medal sometimes. You know, all those chefs around the world.
I think most chefs are doing their best, and I think they've reached a point where they understand that most critics are not exactly critiquing the food anymore. I think this is something else they're criticizing. But at the same time, though, you just mentioned Kristoffer, and you mentioned Laila and Ken, which are absolutely great restaurant owners. But you also run a theater house. Remember this, okay? You're talking strictly restaurants now, and this is what they do. Food is what we do, you know, and therefore they have to perform at a very high level, which is obviously understood. But you are running a club, it's a theater house in one section. There's something else going on upstairs, which is it's a combination of bar, club, and
that's entertainment house.
Yeah, right. It's not that easy and I understand your frustration where you try to maintain that same level of grading of all these things, you know. So
I just wanted to reflect what the house is about. I wish that, you see it, but
yes, I see it.
But anyway, but that was the critics.
This is a therapy session, Sølvi. Go ahead.
Get it out there.
It's all good. It's all good. What was the first show you did on stage that you said to yourself, that's it? Even though you might give me the whole generic answer, people say things like, oh, I love all my shows. We know. But there must have been a turning point. There must have been one production that you did and you said, this is it right here.
I think that the turning point is that first time where I was actually cooking coffee for him, for Helge Jordal and that production. I actually knew that I love this. But I never knew back then that I could educate myself in this business. And I didn't know that, you know, if I could go back, I always say I would never go back in time and, you know, everything. I lived a full life, and I mean, for good and for bad, full life. But if there was one thing I would love to go back and do if I could, it was to go to the director school. I would love to be a director.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think I would have loved it. I like that part of the business, you know, the producing and the director, and I love working with good directors. And by the time I sort of got my head and was finished in London and I got kids, and then suddenly I realized that, this is really and I started Rick's, and I started my own production company. And I had done some production with Elina and Dagfinn Lyngbø's first solo show.
Was that stereo?
No. This is in Café Clou.
Oh.
We're in a no. This is many.
Well, I
this
discovered
is
that
before
thing
we
from
came
stereo.
to the big shows. No, and I sort of thought, oh fuck, and I sort of realized that there was a director school in Oslo.
Oh, okay.
But then I already had a kid, had my first child, and Oslo have never ever been on my radar to live in. Not, And I remember when I was there, was a project manager for Elina for building up Latter. And she asked me, "Oh, can't you move to Oslo?" I was like, "No, thank you, but no, thank you. If I'm gonna leave Bergen, I would have left for another country, not for another city. If I'm gonna live, I'm gonna live in the nicest place, the nicest city. I'm not fan. I don't think I would have thrived in Oslo.
In Oslo,
I like. I'm a real Bergen patriot. I love Bergen, and
we
I
see
like it here, and I like that you can pick up the phone and call anyone. I wouldn't have any problems. Not because I know a lot of people, just because I'm never afraid of not knowing things. I'm always curious about new things. When I was, I have worked in all the different, as an assistant in all the sort of areas of a production you can work. And I asked all the best people, can I work for free for you on that production? Can I stand in here? Can I just hang around and learn? And I still have that in me. I would never be afraid to pick up the phone and tell somebody, I have no idea how you do this, but can you help me? And I think it's really easy in Bergen to do that. I think that's a benefit of being a second city in Norway. And I think that's a very good thing in Bergen. In 1999, I was producing the opening of Bergen as a culture city. And everybody sort of said, she's not going to be able to do that,
Okay. How do you survive those criticisms?
I'm just thinking, well, we will see. Okay. And I think that I was asked if I could have a lecture, and I actually called it. I'm not sure if I can translate that into English. It sounds much more rude in English, but okay. It's called. I called it "Gi litt mer faen."
What's that in English again?
Well, what's that in English? Just give a little bit. I don't know. What's that in English? I wouldn't know. Just fuck it.
Fuck it. I think it's just fucking and do it.
Don't overthink everything, And I think especially maybe women do that.
Okay.
I think that we can sort of what if, and if you just go for it, And I have a saying that says, when I'm 80 years old and I'm sitting somewhere.
Tuscany
drinking a good cocktail or something, or smoking a joint maybe when I'm 80, who knows, but I'm not going to sit there and regret everything I didn't do.
Okay.
That's my sort of, I'm not going to regret, because a lot of people say, but what if, I'm going to wait till, if you're going to wait, there is, things are never fitting, Like you say, I'm going to wait till I'm 30 before I have kids because I'm going to do this and this and this. If you think you're going to plan everything down to micro details, I don't think nothing's going to happen.
I'm glad you said that. A lot of people tend to make that mistake where it's always like planning every single thing they do, micromanaging their lives, you know, and they fall into that pitfall and then they start blaming everybody else when nothing happens when it's supposed to happen, you know.
Yeah, and also an answer to your question is that it's coming back to the things that don't be afraid to bring on board people that are better than you. And I think that's one of my strengths, that I've been good to bring people on board that are better than me in things that, you know, I'm not good in. And that's what I did with the Culture City. I had an extremely good team of people, and that's what did it and made it, and, you know.
We're going to talk about Maxis for a second.
Huh?
Maxis?
Yeah.
Maxis,
my
your
stepdaughter, yeah.
And, you know, I've had the pleasure of meeting her a couple of times. And yesterday I was doing a workshop and she was part of that workshop, you know.
Yeah.
And she is originally from Colombia,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And she is a person of color,
Yes.
per se, you know. Do you think sometimes that she wonders or worries about where she's from?
Well,
It's not so much of a personal question to ask.
It is a personal question, but she knows where she comes from, and she talks openly about it.
Right.
She is not. There is no secrets around that she's adopted, and that her father, which is my husband, and mother went and.
Right.
Picked her up in Cali in Colombia, and she is curious about it, of course.
Absolutely.
She's very curious about it, and is using music and writing about it, and I think that's very, very good, and I think it's great, and that you find a way to express your feelings and how
I think she's
you're
talented. I think she's insanely talented.
Yeah.
You know, she sent a message to me one time. She was like, "Oh, Michael, I love neo soul. You know, what do you listen to?" And I sent her like, "There you go, enjoy. This could help you get to the direction you're looking for." Because the thing I want to say, Sølvi, is this. You know, we're gonna jump into the whole 2020 experience in a little second, I promise. But we thought we'd take a little bit step back and know about who you are, you know, and understand, because I could have easily asked you about what's going on with Olebil 2020. That's an easy question to ask. Absolutely.
Yes.
But then again, you've been all over the media about this. You've been you know, hell and high waters and talking about it very openly. And I didn't want to ask you the question right away because I felt like it would be very unfair to start a conversation that way, because it's way too easy to jump into that pit hole so easily, as all of us obviously are in, myself included. You know, so I wanted to say we could talk about a bit about who you are, where you're from, the things you've been through, because the way I see this, Sølvi, if there's one person who will survive this pandemic, it's you. Remember, you said you took over a company in 2005 and it was minus 6 million kroners first 2 years.
2013.
Sorry,
I started
2013.
the company in 2005. Yeah.
When you took over, it was negative to 6 million kroners, and within 2 years, it was a turnover. Right, and then comes, of course, 2020, where you're expecting almost 4,000 people through that door on any given Friday or Saturday. And then all of a sudden, March 12th slams in your face, and you're thinking, holy shit, what's going on? And let's not forget that in 2018, you actually pulled off something crazy called Julegøy.
Yeah.
With Kevin Vogenes and Christopher Sheldrup and Christina Hopper, if I'm not mistaken, and this other guy.
Rune.
Rune
Luther.
Rune, right.
Yeah.
And I remember him. Let's talk about Julegøy.
Yeah.
You know, I think I was still there when that was going on.
Yeah.
And when I saw Kevin do power therapy, first I was thinking, man, if you could do this on a live stage, that would be crazy. That was the first thing that hit my mind. I was watching it with my girlfriend at the time. Well, not at the time.
Yeah.
She's still my girlfriend.
She's
still my girlfriend, but I was watching it at the time.
I understood. I understood.
Right. She's watching, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How did you manage to pull that off? Let's start with that, and then we'll work our way down to 2020 after this.
Well, it actually started with a conversation with me and Christina having lunch. And we are good friends, and we sort of, throw ideas to each other, and she just said that she was going into Odda to do some things, and yeah, okay. And out of that conversation, I sort of thought, maybe I should do something with Christina and Kevin, because she was going in to do this company event or something in there. And out of that, I called Kevin, and
You just randomly called Kevin.
and he was in LA, and I asked if he would like to do something with Christina, and I'm a big fan of Christopher, and I'm a big fan of Christina, and Rune I've seen before, so we sort of, from having a lunch and talking about doing 1 or 2 nights of a Christmas show or doing a show, it sort of turns out to 51 sold out shows in an hour, and it's, the shows sold out in 2 minutes, and then we sort of added on and added on, and
right.
within the end of the day, it was 51 shows, and it was meant to be 4 shows. So we sort of, and it exploded, and we sort of decided we get a name for it that is easy to say what it is, it's easy to understand. It's, yes, we work with humor, but it's all about getting through in the jungle, in advertisement and the media and social media. And we just hit that plank in that right second. And that sort of launched the whole of Julegøy, and which is now a yearly thing that we're gonna do for a long time, I hope.
And of course, you did it again in 2019, which is Julegøy.
We did it, yes.
Right,
yeah.
And you end up generating, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ole Brillhuset had an income revenue of about 70 million kroners
Yes.
in 2019.
Yes.
Which is absolutely freaking impressive.
Yes.
And then comes 2020.
Yes.
March 12th.
Yeah.
You're ready to kickstart.
Yeah, we were going to launch the new set of Julegøy on March the 12th. And then we realized, okay, we just have to pull out of this. We cannot launch something in the pandemic. So we sort of pulled everything, cancel all the everything that was lined up.
How many, I heard you had 140 shows pulled out of production for 2020.
Yeah.
What does this do to a person like you?
Huh?
What does this do to you mentally? I mean, let's be very honest and very candid here, because I'm thinking you run a building that's literally people, like I said, on a Friday, Saturday night, you were expecting about 4,000 people easily. And then you go and this happens, and then you have to cut down to 500.
Yeah.
And then you go down to 200, and now it's, I don't know, somewhere around 10 or something?
Now we're allowed to have 20.
Wow, okay, which is kind of...
It's sort of, you go into survival modus, and my first concern was my staff. I have 80 employees, and a lot of them were students. So in the beginning, we made food boxes for all the staff so they could come and pick up food. And it was, I realized very quickly that this would be very dramatic for us as a private theater, because we wouldn't get any funding, and we would be bankruptcy if, when we realized this would continue. And it was, I'm known for working, hard and a lot, but this year, from March till March, I don't think I ever worked as much, because all the back office job you have to do in moving, canceling, and all the customers that you're gonna get reach to, and you have to move them, and there's just a line of people that they don't understand all the effort and all the job that is done behind, and also all the applications that you have to do. You need to be a professor, and if I didn't have my husband, I have no idea how I would be able to do, because that's really, really a big job. And when you then are a private theater and you work for yourself and everybody, all your staff is out, I ended up doing all the jobs, and with 4 kids at home, and of course they read all the papers, and they were affected hard by this. And I also have a 10-year-old, and which has
he's autistic.
He's an autist, and for being a mother for a child with that need extra care on so many levels, the pandemic has sort of hit double hard, but both in my work and at home. And I think that's, this is the first time I talk about it, so it's sort of, that's been probably the hardest, I think, to make sure that he's, because you can't, when you have somebody that needs extra care and everything change, and when you're an autist, everything has to be in the same way every day. There can't be any changes, and suddenly the whole world is changing. Everything, school, home situation, everybody's home that's not supposed to be home, and the school is changing. Everything. So, and what I've learned is that everybody have something. I have my job, and that's hard and it's tough, but also in your private life, everybody have something they are struggling with, even if it's me that has, with my family, that we have a boy that is an autist, or other people, and and I think that we are privileged also to live in Norway, We are privileged that have all the offices, and we have a lot of help that we can ask for, and I think it's...
Did you feel like Norway let you down, though?
Huh?
Did you feel like Norway let you down in the beginning of it all?
In the beginning, it felt like we got let down, but I must say that, I think that it's... they have listened. It took some time before they listened, and Bergen Kommune have stepped up and have given help, but of course, without the help that we have gotten, Ole Bull wouldn't have been here today. We would have been bankrupt. We would never be able to take that loss that we had. Not at all. Not in a million miles would we be able to, with all those productions that were planned and already a lot of money was put into that you can't...
recuperate.
Yeah. So, but in the end of the day, I think that I'm grateful that I live in Norway, and it has not opened up my eyes, because I knew, of course, before the pandemic that we had a good social system, but I have been in a lot of situations this year that have made me think that even though it's tough and hard, we are lucky. Let's not forget we live in Norway. We don't live in Syria, or we have won a golden ticket to be born and live and come to this country and live here. If you are born here, or wherever that you are here in Norway, it is. Yeah.
That is true.
I think that. Of course, there is a lot of differences.
Nothing is perfect, yes.
No.
But nonetheless, yes, we've won a seemingly golden ticket to be living here or born here. Yes, for sure. But...
Yes, of course there is buts.
Of course, we don't get away from that. I felt like when I meet you, or when we see you, you are strong. There's not that many women I can say, okay, You know, you are one of the or actually not many women, forgive me. What I meant was many people. There's not many people that faced this head on as much as you did. This is a fact. But at the same time, you mentioned your home situation. You know, I think a lot of people here are too scared to, you know, like let their guards down and say, listen, I'm going through some shit at home that's dry. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine what your situation is like. You know, first you have a business that just got hit. There's a pandemic. You never know when that's going to end. There shows your plans. You're not even sure what's going to happen there. And of course, not to mention that, you have the artists who, in a way, rely on you to, not directly per se, but they rely for you to step up and say, Sølvi, are you going to take care of us? That usually happens. Maybe it's not spoken, but you feel it yourself since you're so passionate about what you do. You want to take care of people. I get that. But that's the thing. I saw your post and you were going at it on social media and everything. But at the same time, I stopped for a second and I said, I don't think people know what Sølvi is going through at home.
No.
You know what I mean?
I remember once I did an interview and I actually talked to my husband about it, and it was an interview about a portrait, is that what you call it? Yeah. And I thought about it long and hard, and I said, well, I don't want this to be, you know, this, well, it's so glamorous, it's so, because life isn't glamorous, you know, and I talked about, you know, my life and my history, and I knew that I wanted some of my stories or history, and I think that, you know, if you are honest to people, if you tell people that, you know, I fucked up or I have a problem, like my home situation now is that I'm on week 12 in homeschooling with my son, and that's on the level of hard isn't, you know, covering it enough. But when you are honest to people around you, my staff know about it, everybody knows about it. You know, I don't need to post it on social media or anything.
No, absolutely not.
But all my friends and know about it. And when you are open and honest, you know, it's also about being humble, you know. And, you know, it's you know, what the worst thing that can happen, that actually people gonna offer help. You know, it's that people gonna understand that the shit that you sit in, that's the worst thing that can happen. You know, and I'm not up for perfect, or I don't want people, I don't want perfect people in my life. You know, they have nothing to offer me.
That's true.
You know, that is bullshit. And when you know, this is something that we got this diagnosis and all this the last years, and you see that I have friends and I have people I know that have kids that struggle with depression and bipolar, and kids that have eating disorder, and people have alcoholic, you know, there is so much problems, and they have cancer, and you know, and I just think that if we are just lowering our guards a little bit and just say how you actually, what's going on.
That's the point. That's,
you know,
that's what I was getting to. You know, I didn't want to. I
think
don't want people to watch people and say, "Oh, Michael, why are you asking such a question?" I think it's important to ask such questions because Sølvi is a human being.
Yeah, and I think that my staff have seen me cry and being emotional, and I think that I rather be that boss that cries or emotional when I'm talking about tough things in my family or at work. You know, when we lost 6 million, it was really tough work. You know, and I had just employed a guy, and he had just bought a house and he got the baby. I had to let him off. You know, that was when I took over the house. when I thought that I'm going to build this fantastic entertainment house, and we sort of just had to let a lot of people go. And that also happened now in the pandemic when I had to, during 2020, I had to let people go, which is, it's hard. That's very hard. People that have kids and, they rely on their job, and it's not like there is plenty of work out there for anyone. So it's be human in what you do, I think.
I felt comfortable asking the reason, and a lot of people, I think before this conversation started, we talked about how we could watch a lot of these things, and everybody likes to swim on the surface of everything, because they're scared to say certain things. And for me, I was like, nah, because you are a person we said you've been through it all until 2020 hit, and then we're like, what the hell is this?
What?
What the hell is this,
It's good that you don't know what's coming at you.
Yeah, okay. Keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, but, it's good that we don't know what's coming tomorrow. I think that,
Okay.
It's, I think that's good. That comes with don't regret at my 80th what I've, all the things you didn't do. And then there is another saying I have that the devil is in the details.
The devil is in the details, absolutely.
The devil is in the
Yeah,
details.
for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So far, so good. We're still here. The building is still there. I go past that building every now and then with my son in a stroller. And I often wonder, what does 2021 look like? Or actually, let's put it this way. What does 2022 look like?
2022, I think that's gonna be a very packed entertainment house. There were so many things that we delayed and that we hadn't done, and so many projects that's been in the pipeline that we had just said, okay, let's wait. So, we have so many requests, and we have so much that we have that are just queuing up. There are so many projects queuing up. So I think it's going to be very, very busy, and I think people are going to be... I think that the day Anna Solberg say, okay, the country is open, I think everybody is going to have a day off the next day, a grodag, and there's going to be Rio de Janeiro party in the streets, I hope.
Oh, I hope not. Then it's just like a new pandemic all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't happen.
I can't wait for that. I think it's going to be popping a lot of champagne bottles that day. Yeah.
Your building is one of the 5 privately owned theater houses in Norway, if I'm not mistaken.
I think by now it's probably the only private theater.
Now it's the only private?
Like we run it now, but of course there is the other one. There are 4 more that are privately owned, but they are only theaters. We are a full-time 365 days open entertainment house with restaurant and bar. So that's
crazy.
Single out us as the only one in Norway.
I think about and I want to say this thing here, something I've been dying to ask and dying to say actually. And I look at the Nordic Black Theater in Oslo, for example, and pardon me if I'm wrong, and I might be wrong, of course, but
Shoot.
I look at the Nordic Black Theater, in Oslo, and I see a lot more diversity there than I do see at Lucian Theater, maybe, Olebrilhuset, maybe, even National Scena, I dare to say that. Why is this the case? Because I always felt like...
What do you mean?
What I mean is, I would love to see more diversity. In your building and in the whole theater as a whole.
Yeah, what do you mean with diversity? Just
so
I don't...
I mean,
plays.
I don't want to say, because diversity can also mean women and men mixed together, but now I'm talking about actually having plays that are showcasing more people of color per se, because I dare to say it, and I feel like there's a lack of that, and I always felt like we could do more.
Yeah. That's why I love when you had your slam poetry at, and I would love that. You know, if anybody that has a good concept or project, they can come to me. They don't have to pay rent, and we are searching always for young or diverse. You know, there is nothing that says that. There is no reason or anything. So
because I've had a lot of people who are trying to showcase really cool stuff, actually, you know,
well,
in
send
the theater.
Them my way, and they can have the theater for free. I mean, and that's what me and you have
I'll
talked
send them
about.
your way then.
That I talked about before. But I also, when I took over the whole house and made it into an entertainment house, I also said that. And this is before I knew I had a son that needed extra care. And I always said, I don't want this house or my business to be a sort of a straight A4, you know, like a straight, boring, you know, this is how we do it. I want us to have room for helping people that have fallen out of society or out of the work to help them back into work. And we have worked together with Hyssingen Produksjonsskole. And I think anything that can make us more relevant, that can, in the work ethics or in the workplace or in the artistic, you know, anything.
Right.
There is, I think that it makes us a better place to work if you work with people from different backgrounds, wherever they come from, whatever color, or you know, that makes life more
fun,
better or more fun, and you know, you never know what you learn or experience, or it's a better place to be. It's a better place to work, I think.
You're absolutely right, and I've seen you vocalize those opinions, and you're actually one of the few people. Like I said, you're one of 4 people I know who actually step up to a plate and say, "Hey, listen, let's do this." It makes sense, and this is facts.
Yes,
you know.
You were very. You were very you know, you didn't know if you were going to dare to ask. But then I'm like, okay, I'm not sure if I'm going to dare to say this or ask you. But anyway, anyway, I'm just wondering. But where do I pick up? Or not pick up? That was wow. That okay, was very no. But
we're not picking.
Where
how do you find these things?
Yes.
Let me say it, and
because it's not like you can put in an ad.
No. Well, let's put it this way.
And if they don't come and knock on my door, and we are,
it's a scary. Let me. If I can speak on behalf of people that look like me.
Yes.
I've been in this game for a bit, and you know that.
I've
been doing my thing, and the thing is, not everyone. For people of color who live here. You look around you. It's always mostly white spaces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's scary to go into a room and you're the only black person there. You know, it's not an easy thing to absorb.
No.
If I can say that politely and very honestly.
Of course you can.
Now, when you go into a space, and it's mostly, well, Norwegians or whatever, you feel sometimes that it's almost impossible to come up with any suggestions or any ideas that might make sense. You know, I was lucky I had you. You know what I mean? I came to you with Sneaker Storm, remember? And you were like, do it. You were the only one who saw what I saw, you know? And that's what I mean is it's not that easy for minorities to go into such buildings and say, hey, can I do this here? Especially if you look at the roster the whole year and it's okay, that's a white comedian, there's another white comedian, there's another white show going, okay, great, we get it. You know, you see, now I'm speaking very bluntly, very candidly, okay, on live television, which is crazy. It's just that I feel like Norway does not give minorities a chance to showcase what they can do.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about London. It's great. Everybody talks about United States. Oh, amazing. The only reason these places are amazing is because you have a very good blend and mix of people who do this. It's amazing. Oh, this is great. But in Norway, it's like, nah, we're not doing that. Doesn't make sense for us. Let's not give it a chance. Let's shut it down.
I can just say that in my time, I've never been in a situation where I ever had in my mind, or I have ever said
you.
that.
I'm saying in general
that
now.
where somebody have stood in front of me or across the table, and we talked about, and I have judged them on color. It just haven't happened. But as we talked about my bonus daughter, and she is in Fagerspill, and she came to me, and I hope she doesn't mind me saying this.
She's right behind you, but that's fine.
Oh, she's there. And she said to me that when she started in Fagerspill, she said that she, for the first time, really felt, connected or at home.
Right.
And that sort of, I was just sort of like, yeah, wow, that I can understand. Without it was just nothing negative or nothing bad. It was just, I just really like, yes, that I can understand. Because and that's maybe because as a person, like I said to Maxis, I said, all these years I never thought about you as adopted. I just think that you are Maxis, the daughter of Hanna and Gaute, and that's sort of, but it doesn't mean that, and I just mean it in a very, very positive way.
Absolutely.
But it is, of course, I really understand that, and I thought that was so cool for her to just say and to come out. I think that was, I think that was a really good thing to say, and it made me understand, even though I'm very open-minded, and I'm the girl that at 18 years old took a great garlic home for dinner to my parents, in the suburbs, and I don't have those sort of stops or anything for color or sexual
orientation,
preference, or whatever you have, or if you are this or that, I don't care. It's about.
This is what I mean, is that I know you don't care, because, like I said, I've had the benefit of working with you, personally, and I know you don't care. But when I think about, if you look at it as a whole, and let's use Maxis as an example.
Yeah.
I know she loves neo soul, right? And I know she loves Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, D'Angelo, Music Soul Child. I feel you, right? Mereba, maybe, the one you just started listening to. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And what I tell people is this. It is important to listen to what these kids are saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
I pride myself in listening to what 16, 17-year-olds are saying, so I can understand what's going on around. That's how I manage to stay fresh in the game, right?
Yeah.
And then I look at buildings and cultural houses. I work with a literature house right now, and it's amazing. I love it. I get to do a lot of cool stuff here.
And that's also, I said to you I said, this is the right place for you to be.
Right. You were like, it's cool. Go to literature house. That's a place to be for you.
Absolutely.
But now I'm thinking of, as a whole, when you listen to people like Marx's talking, I always say to people, those are the people you should be listening to. Why? Because they're the ones who can actually revolutionize what you're doing, because it's so easy to get caught up in one system of doing things. Yes, it works, but is it sustainable over time? Does it appease the mind of the minority as a whole? My point being, Sølvi, is this. If we look at cultural buildings and we say, let's do a concert, right? It baffles me that no one is thinking about Erykah Badu. No one is thinking about Jill Scott. No one is thinking about Music Soul Child or Mereba, the entire Soul Case string academy. Now I'm speaking your language, Maxis, obviously, but I'm speaking to everybody who loves neo soul and of course some underground hip hop. That's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Why am I saying this? Is because I do believe deep down that there's a lack of information
True.
to cultural houses. I don't
True.
think they know. But the problem is, will they listen?
Well, I will. So.
But the thing is, you run a powerhouse, and you will listen, yes, and you are open-minded. But what scares me sometimes is, what if the people around you don't really listen as much as you do, though? Because I know people will do whatever you say, that's for sure. But are they really listening to the information that's being passed to them? Because if I could tell someone of color and say, go to Oliver Husa, speak to Sølvi, she's good. Yes, Sølvi will listen to me. But in production, it's not Sølvi I'm working with. There's
I will.
implicit bias is going to kick in.
Yeah.
People who are ignorant are going to come in. And then all of a sudden, the whole production goes to shit.
Well,
This is facts.
Yeah, well, I can not. I will think that if we have that I say go for a project, there is nothing that will stop it in my house. But I think that we all can get better and we all can learn. I don't think that that we are perfect in any way, but I think that we are very open-minded. But as you are talking now, and I'm thinking about what you are saying, it is to use the words. It is very ultra-white, yes, and that's not good.
It's scary.
So on live TV, I'm going to do something about it, but that takes time. That I know when I see what the very good director and theater director in Oslo, Erik Ulsby. Herregud. He started a project in Oslo, I think it's 6 years ago or something, to have more diversity in the theater. And I think they have the first sort of full-scale class coming out from there now in 2020, I think it was, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, so his work has been it is something to look to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm aware of his work, actually.
Yeah.
Because I feel like what happens sometimes is that theater houses or culture houses are not seeing the headlines. This is what they're missing, the headlines. If you had a show and you said, Erykah Badu playing tonight at Ole Husa, you know how awesome that sounds? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People who know Erykah Badu, myself included, will come to that house and you will have one hell of a diverse night. The problem is a lot of people, just because they don't know what this is, we won't talk about Sneaker Storm, when I started Sneaker Storm, and you were the only one who got it. You were the one who's like, my kids love sneakers. Go for it, Michael. That will be a great show. And I was like, she gets it. It's the same thing, is that people are acting on, I feel, a lack of information, where they think that, oh no, we don't know what that is in Norway, so no one knows what that is in Norway. What you forget is that the information is right in front of you, but you're just not looking at it. Yeah. You know what I mean? I've been to concerts at Ole Husa sometimes, and I'm like thinking, like, man, do they know they will make a lot of money? They just invited this one person. You know what I mean, right? Yeah. This one person would really change your whole building forever. But you don't dare to say it because you feel like if you say it, people here might just not see what you're saying. But if I mention that name to Maxis, your daughter, she wouldn't be like, oh my God, that would be crazy. I'm like, yeah, you see it, right? You know what I mean?
Yes,
so what I'm trying to say is, I feel like cultural houses, hopefully if they're watching, should get much better at just opening up their minds. It's okay if you don't know. It's okay if you understand. When I started slam poetry, people didn't know what the hell I was talking about, But it took me to go in head on and say, let me show you what we do. And now people love it, right? And it's the same thing I say with these things is, you don't have to feel the need to be the ones to organize it. Just trust someone else and say, hey, you know about this. Run it. This will work. And I'm just dying for that day. I was writing a play on Nina Simone, actually. I had to cut that play because of certain reasons. I said, no one is going to show this. Even though this is Nina Simone going to be shown in a different way, and I believe this will work. But I said to myself, no, I'm not going to do this anymore because it's not just, Paragon is not going to buy this. But this makes a lot of sense, though. Why did I feel that way? Because there's so many white spaces. It's scary. You know, even for me, it's kind of scary sometimes. Not anymore. I'm over that, you know. But there's a lot of people in this city, of people of color, who are very talented, and I believe they can literally change the face of theater as you know it.
Yeah.
Give you the London experience.
I'm not this thing. I don't disagree with you, but I don't think that it is like that because people don't want to.
Why is it like that then?
Huh?
What do you think? Why do you think it's like that?
I think it's because miscommunication. People don't know where to meet or to pick up those talents or to find the talents or I think it's a mix of all that because I know, for example, Frank Nes, or I know all the heads of culture in Bergen, and not a bone in my body will think that they choose out of race or color or anything. I think it's more out of that if we are talking about doing projects in Bergen in the houses, I think it is more, that's my opinion, lack of communication.
Lack of information.
But you have addressed an important thing, so let's start to work on that together and get better.
Absolutely. I think it would be great for the build, and I think it would be great for Bergen as a whole. It's a be a good look. It's not often we see these things going on here. Some people have tried, I know, but it's a bit too distant in a way. And I always tell people it depends on who's telling the information, who's saying it. I have spent my years on neo soul. I have spent my years in hip hop. I have spent my years on culture, you know. But at the same time, I also feel like people think I have a voice. Yes, I do. But I feel like my voice is not really heard enough. And if I feel this way, then I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people of color who feel the same way. And I want to speak on behalf of those people. You know, Olebulu says a great place and institution is done. My first concert in Bergen was at Olebulu, for God's sakes, in 2006 when I saw Phoenix come from Paris to play. You know, and I'm forever grateful. And is there anything else you would like to tell us that we don't know about what's coming in the future that we should be excited for?
Well, there is a lot of things that's coming in the future, but it's not public yet. But I'm excited, you know. I'm excited, you know. Lille Ole Bull have been closed since the 12th of March. We haven't had any shows down there. So I'm excited to be able to work with talents again whenever we can open up and can afford to do that because of with this pandemic that we are in. It's sort of it's money runs dry, so we soon need to open the house again. But so that's what I'm looking forward to.
Are you ready for a crowd?
Talents.
Are you ready for a crowd?
Ready for
a crowd? Are you ready for that?
Yeah, I'm ready for a crowd. We are all ready for a crowd. But I'm looking forward to the autumn because we have a reunion of Kvinner på Randen.
I saw that.
Yeah, and that was quite extraordinary when they got together this summer to sort of have playing at Ole Bull for making money for us to survive. And so I'm really, and I work with those girls, you know, on their first shows, and I've been with them and touring, been their tour manager, and so.
Oh, you've done that. You've done that too, tour manager.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And so that's going to be very, very special. That it's sort of they are coming to play in my theater.
Isn't it nice to know you have people like that who, you know, are with you?
If you had asked me, whoever would have a reunion and do that to open and to save your business, I would never. I mean, that's sort of something that everybody in the business have, I get the question, do you ever think that Kvinneoperaen will reunion? I've said, no, I don't think. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen in 10 years' time, maybe a one-off night or something, but that they had a reunion to help me, that was,
That's fantastic.
That's really, so that is very special that they have an opening and going to play for all that time in my theater. That stands out for so many reasons.
Hopefully the world opens up.
Yeah.
I'm sick of it myself for sure. Normally we would have people in the room watching this, but it is what it is. Sølvi, it's been great having you here.
Thank you.
I enjoy talking to you. I enjoy, just being able to have this communication with you and you taking the time out of your day to come out and bless us with your knowledge and your skill sets and just give us gems after gems. It's a beautiful thing, and I wish more people could watch this and see a side of you which normally we don't see, and probably a side of me which probably they don't see.
Well, we started a new project now. Come on.
Okay, all right, and I'm ready. Thank you very much for coming out. Really, really appreciate it. Looking forward to following with you and Ole Bull for sure. You have my support all day, every day. You know that. Thanks for watching. Amazing interview or conversation here for sure. Very, very heartfelt, very open, very straight two-way communication, which is pretty much what I stand for. Easter is upon us. Stay safe out there. Stay away from the cabin trips and all that, please. Save us from all the nonsense. We are tired of the pandemic for sure. I still go by the name of Michael Opara. Some people call me Doran's Grave, and I should be back here on the 9th of April with a guy called Kingsley, who has been in the game forever, but somehow people just don't highlight his greatness enough, and I thought we'd do that. And of course, on the 16th of April, we also have Mira Craig coming in from Oslo to speak, about a couple of things. I'm excited for that, for sure. Thanks for tuning in to MoftMinds. Stay blessed, stay safe, and take good care of yourselves, and have a great night. Cheers.